calling a spade a spade. We got about 10 minutes before the break. What's your thoughts on that? Got any thoughts on that? All that whole spiel there?
Yeah, sure. If you will unleash me on these three,
go for it,
professors. Yeah. I'd like to start with the interesting quotation from Scripture. Now, I'm not a Christian, but I do make good use of the Bible. Matthew 24:6-8, quote, "You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed." Now, to me, that is a hint that we are dealing with a world of theater. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars. You will not see them. You will not see dead bodies. You will not see real blood. Whoever wrote the Bible for us, they knew the inside. And this argument about Israel or Jewish people needing Israel because their lives are in danger, another World War II, another Holocaust, that has to be dismantled and
right.
What's the word? Exposed for the fraud that it is. I assume that your listenership is familiar with the argument that the Holocaust is a fraud.
Yes.
And things like 9/11 are
absolutely
more than questionable. Yeah. And so for them not to be aware of this, the fraud narrative that underlies so many so-called tragedies and wars, that's a big problem. And what else to add to that? I do have quite a few notes here.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I do like
one thing. Well, you go ahead, and I'll pick it up in a minute. Go ahead.
Okay, sure. Not sure what the best order is here, but starting with Lord Balfour, his 1917 declaration. The people in charge are clever. They choose names on purpose. Balfour is a play on the pagan name for the pagan god. Sorry, Baal with a double A instead of a single A. There's nothing Christian or Jewish about this declaration. Zionism is a word constructed from the Dutch word Z-O-N, which is sun, and the I, the letter I, is representing the I, the Illuminati I. The sun is an Illuminati symbol, the Jesuit symbol. It's in our face. There is the name Israel. It's many of these words, and I'm quite adept at this, and I have extensive work on the word games they're playing with us. Israel is mostly an English. It's an English compound word, corruption of real. So it is Israel, not real. They're telling us it's not actually real. It's misspelled. That's a way of saying it's not real. What's going on in Israel, Gaza, and what's the other strip they have? It's not real. It's theater.
Right.
Pardon?
No, the West Bank.
So, correct. Yeah, this is a big theater. This is nothing more than theater. 80 years of war between an unarmed people who don't have a standing army, no navy, no air force, while Israel is highly advanced, reputedly, maybe demonstrably, has U.S. support, millions and millions. The 80 years of war makes no sense. This is just theater for us.
Yeah, I mean, I do buy into that a lot. Like the same thing can be said about the Russia-Ukraine conflict. I mean, I would have thought Russia would be able to just wipe them out if they wanted to, but they seem to be kind of drawing it out, taking their time. Maybe they're being real careful. There's some, evidence that might be a little more real than we think. But, I mean, the only thing I could think about the Palestine issue is maybe they are intending it to go slow. Maybe they're building up their support. And the one thing I really picked up on was the end part about the technology. I'll get back to that later. But the fact that they foment and create the anti-Zionism to use it against us, basically. So I think it really comes into play when you have people like Candace Owens, Megyn Kelly, Tucker Carlson, playing these hands that I don't really know if they really believe that. In my opinion, I think they're paid actors, just to sum it up.
Yes, yeah. Right. Yeah, I mean, for Israel to be actually genociding a people, I mean, that's so damaging. It is damaging, but they don't care because they're not actually killing people. And their job is to keep people glued to their seats of this so-called tragedy. You're in a tragedy theater, and we're missing what's going on. The more important things, like perhaps Agenda 21 and the electronic prison being built around us.
Right.
The disease rate is just mind-boggling that, we can ignore 50 million people dying from the top four diseases and be focused on theater in the Middle East or climate change, please.
Right. No, I do agree. I mean, it's hard to say that they're not killing people because, I mean, I don't know. I've seen a lot of the damage they've done on the buildings there, but yeah, in a way, you do have to wonder if it is all theater in a way. And, they've got great, AI programs now. It's hard to tell what's real and what's not. And they've probably had that for a long time.
Exactly.
And, they have all these crisis actors and the way they, I don't know, the storyline falls apart in a lot of stuff, but some of it is real. Yeah. The one thing I really picked up on is the fact that, they are the ones that are developing all this technology to track and surveil and basically kill you from a distance, greater distance, and that's all being tested or played with over there, and then that's about ready to be unleashed over here. And
right.
I do like the fact that they called out the Israeli lobby in the U.S., and I appreciate all that, but there's definitely some things I definitely disagree with, and I don't know. It's a good little video. I encourage people to watch it. We're gonna take a quick break. We've got a couple minutes of ads here, and we'll be right back. Go ahead. What's some of your other thoughts on that whole video? And we're talking off air a little bit, and I do agree on a lot of your points here.
Yeah, I know. It's a big leap to take to go into the total theater argument, but that takes time. I was shocked when I was convinced by other people who focus on specifically the Israeli-Palestinian theater, and they tell us, they always tell us, the people in charge, they have expressions like war theater, and those are hints.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm big on the wordplay thing too. I don't remember a lot of them, but I think that's one of the ways they really enslave us is they have us using their language, and it's designed to, keep us down in a way.
Yes and no. Like I said, sometimes the words include hints that we should notice, but we don't. I'll give you a couple of mundane examples. there's and you probably know this junk food company called Bimbo.
Mm-hmm.
They sell chips and so on. Yeah, I mean, the old meaning of that word bimbo was a stupid person, specifically a stupid woman. Yeah, you have to be stupid to eat that stuff. They're telling you. They're telling us. Recently, a doctor I really respect, I've just forgotten his name. He's very much into challenging the scientific paradigm by using better science. And he's been pushing this product called the analemma. It's a little analemma wand, and it's something you stir in your water, and it's got all kinds of pseudoscience behind it. And he had some listeners challenging him on this, and now he defended it with some research. Well, research can be faked. We're not in the labs that are testing this research.
Right.
But the name itself is a compound Greek. You can call it a cryptogram because these two words don't normally belong together. And lemma, Lemma, I think it's spelled, is a Greek word meaning assumption. Assumption as in no proof. You're assuming, and then ana is Greek for again. So again, an assumption. They're telling us there's no proof for these products. And as much as I love that doctor, I think he's been had, or he's being paid to push this thing.
Right.
So.
It kind of reminds me of Alex Jones and all his pushing, all his little, whatever type products he's got. I mean, that's just one example. Mike Adams is another one I don't trust. Got a lot of these guys. A lot of charlatans selling snake oil.
Yeah, and Alex Jones is a shill through and through, I suppose. Such a great actor, but this doctor I'm speaking about, he may have been approached, so to speak, and given a choice to cooperate or not. So
it's very possible.
It's really, yeah.
I mean, I'm sure if bribes don't work and money doesn't work, then the next thing will be threats to your family and the ones you love.
Yeah, they can get scary. Yeah. There is evidence that lots of...
Yeah, there's a lot of evidence they do both. And
in the medical field.
The medical field's probably the worst, where they were paying doctors, on the number of shots they were giving people and kids, we're getting bonuses off that.
And I was thinking about the list of suspected assassinations of alternative naturopaths, chiropractors, doctors.
Yeah, and the biggest name I think that was most suspicious was Dr. Carrie Mullis. Was a lot of people think killed right before COVID came out, and the PCR test thing came up in everybody's minds, and the guy who invented it wasn't there, and he's even on camera saying that this cannot be used to diagnose sickness.
Right. Yeah. And that's what I mentioned earlier. It's the diseases and health. These should be front and center, not Israel, not Ukraine. We're tens of millions are going unnecessarily to disease.
Right. A good example that
they don't. Yeah.
Right.
Even if the war was
a good example
compared to the death.
Right. They don't of people eating toxic food and just being massively obese and dying way before they should have.
Right.
But I thought what you said was pretty interesting on the break. They talked about a dying empire, and the only thing I could think of that would be dying out of this empire is the so-called American empire. And I think one of the ways they're really taking this thing down is targeting the middle class and taking us down economically. So they're waging economic warfare on the middle class in this country and pretty much all over the world. And ever since COVID happened, it's been getting harder and harder for most average families to survive. The cost of food, insurance, your housing, your cars, everything has gone through the roof. And, here we are kind of scrambling and getting bled dry. And, the globalists just sit there and profiteer all the way to the bank.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is partly about profit. It's partly about, I think it's just a setup to get people desperate enough to accept what's coming, kind of one world, electronic government, AI government, who knows, something much uglier than what we have already.
Right. And I do find it curious how quick to jump on these mass surveillance technologies all these local officials are. In the U.S., they got these things called the flock camera systems. And they're ALRP license plate readers, basically, but they capture a lot more than that. But it's all integrated, and they can share these data sets with all these other counties and police offices, so they could basically track you wherever you've driven by these things. And these local officials just jump on it, like, yeah, we need it. We need a public safety, blah blah blah. But they never think that, they're the ones that actually should be surveilled and targeted the most, in my opinion. I mean, we got like potholes that have been in the roads for 10 years, and they won't fix that, but they'll throw up these rental camera systems that surely are going to increase in price soon. And I've talked about this in another show, but there's a guy named, I think his name is Ben Jones on YouTube. And you should definitely check him out, because he demonstrates how easily these things are hacked, how easily they're gotten into, and it's pretty wild. And I just think it'd be funny if somebody actually started tracking all the politicians with that. I think that would be pretty funny.
Yeah, what would we see? I think we'd be in for a surprise. Yeah, exactly.
That's really what all the surveillance technology should be used for, but instead it's, to track grandma and grandpa and map out your friends and networks and, give, predictive advertising and target you with stuff. And lately, I think Israel, the Jews got in trouble because they were targeting a lot of Christian churches in the Southwest. They were targeting the members with a bunch of pro-Zionist propaganda, basically, and please donate. And just to think about that, how much money have they made off of the whole anti-Semitism industry, just like the Holocaust industry? How much money have they made off of that?
Yeah, well,
who knows?
As one of the researchers says, it's a big street hustle. Look at how much we're suffering. Please donate.
Right.
It's awful. And I've had a friend back in Canada, and Syrian refugee, quote unquote, and I asked him, "Do you know anyone who died there?" "No." Okay, then you watch the news and you see all these people coming out of these war zones, all these young men. None of them are missing limbs. None of them are traumatized. Where is the evidence?
It's a good point.
Yeah.
Well, going back to remember the chemical attacks in Syria? They supposedly, I can't remember who did it, but somebody was launching chemical weapons, and I mean, it was, the white helmets. Remember that whole ordeal? It was found out that whole thing was staged and fake. Yeah, that was exposed for sure.
It was exposed. Right, just like the weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. Yeah. We know they weren't there. No weapons of mass destruction. So it's been exposed often enough for us to suspect a lot more is fake.
Right.
I did a show
like that too. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. I did a show back on another website or another platform called fakeology.com, and I did an hour talk about the French Revolution, and all the paintings of it are so absolutely staged, obviously done in a studio, and the writings are so ridiculous. Accusation of cannibalism. I've done quite a series on cannibalism, and how these people who are writing our history for us are accusing basically everyone except themselves of cannibalism. And they made the French revolutionaries look horrible. And so you lose respect for people who are interested in revolution. And that's by design. It's propaganda, anti-revolution propaganda. Even though people love the French Revolution and fall for it, even though it is absurd on the face of it to believe that, I think it's 5 or 20,000 nobles were executed. By who? Really, by a bunch of farmers? Who had the weapons? Who could challenge the royal army at that time, 200 years ago? It's ridiculous. And then this can't be replicated in other countries? Well, yeah, it's ridiculous. It's a fairy tale.
Right, and I think a lot of people are starting to wake up to the fairy tales. I mean, I've got some friends that are really into this whole preterism thing, where the whole history has to be reanalyzed and rethought, because
what's the word you used? Preterism.
Preterism. It's kind of a biblical thing. They think that basically that Christ already came a long time ago, and when he said he was returning, he returned soon. And after that time, he had 1,000-year reign where the world supposedly lived in peace and prosperity, and that's where you have all these old buildings that were built. And if you look at the history, what they claim, who built these things and how quick they were put up, it's pretty much impossible, considering the technology they had at the day. And so anyways, it's just kind of an interesting thought that, we're really living in Satan's little season, and basically all the biblical prophecies are self-fulfilling prophecies because they wrote the book, basically. And I don't know. I thought it was pretty interesting because it does line up with a lot of stuff that, other people have talked about. My friends Jeff and Joe talk about the star forts all the time, and like, who built these things? And, where do they come from? Why are they built on the waterways? What, how did they do this? Because it seems pretty unlikely that a bunch of Civil War guys were out there building a little fort, when there were so few people at that time.
Right. I've dug very deep into this and have come up with quite a more controversial interpretation of, preterism. I'm more familiar with it being called the Tartarian world.
Yes. Mud floods, the Tartarian Empire. Yes.
Right,
let's hear it. I'm curious. I'm curious.
It'll blow you away. It's completely not. What's the word?
Not real.
So. No, it's real for sure, but I don't present it or I don't interpret it as a beautiful world that we just missed and that we've lost, as the preterists, I guess, and the Tartarians would argue or do argue. It is part of the continuation or preface to the world we're living in now, and the underground tunnels, chambers that are under all these old cities, and now old city centers. We're talking thousands of kilometers, just the tunnels and chambers. In Europe, the U.S. has plenty. The Middle East has these. I'm quite certain now that they were human farms. They were raising humans, breeding them for two purposes. Originally, I believe, just for cannibalism, medical cannibalism, which is continuing, as we know about the adrenochrome narrative. But also to populate and replace native populations across the temperate world, and to introduce agriculture through them, through a gigantic herd of humans raised underground who have no connection to nature, no connection to family, no values. And if you wonder why sometimes wonder why we're so screwed up, it might be because that's how we started. It's a highly disturbing interpretation. I was not happy to stumble across this and to find my research bringing me to that conclusion, but there it is.
Well, it is interesting that we've got all these catacombs that have completely cleaned bones, that somebody, obviously cleaned those bones very well, and then stacked them in these intricate patterns and made entire rooms out of these bones.
Yeah, these people are disturbed, highly disturbed. And an interesting point about those catacombs and the bones, they only present two types of bones, skulls, and I think it's the femur or humerus.
The femur, the long leg bones.
Femur. Yeah, right.
Really? So there's no arm bones in there, or spines, or shoulders, or any of that?
Correct. Huh. Where are they? And my explanation is that scientists, archaeologists have been missed for a long time about the composition of the cement that was used in these classical buildings, because it is superior to what we're using today. And as you may know, horse bones can be processed into special glues. I suspect all those human bones were processed and used as a secret ingredient in the construction of our cathedrals, temples, and so on.
That's interesting. That's pretty interesting.
Disturbing again.
Right.
Yeah.
It is pretty disturbing, and it's a good topic, because I've often wondered. I mean, obviously, it ties into a cataclysm cycle, and I've talked about this a bit. And geologically, there's been at least 5 massive major cataclysms that wiped out quite a few life forms on Earth, and you have the Ice Age. But there's all these other little events that kind of point to, humans being around in some of these cataclysms too. And I do think that the occult elite know, if there is one, if this is a true thing, they know the dynamics of it. And it's almost like they reset this place, or they let it happen naturally. So, what's your thought on that?
I think they are busy trying to make us scared of nature. in any way possible, because they don't want us going back to living on the land and caring for ourselves. Living in fear of nature is great, and you can put us in cities and think this is really great progress and safety.
Right. Okay, let's take a quick break, and we'll be back for the last hour here. 1 moment.